I said, so I know you're looking for something incredible. I mean, I've got a 47 Buick convertible that I've redone, and it's gorgeous. And I've got a Lincoln Continental, and da 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 da. And he's scratching his chin, and he says, well, why don't you just offer me some money for it? And I said, well, everybody said that you don't want cash for it. And he goes, nobody's ever offered me cash for it.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Talking About Cars podcast. Yes, it's the place where everybody, me, him, everybody has a car story. I'm Randy Cardoon, car guy, like my co-host, Hot Rod Bob Beck. But unlike me, the esteemed Mr. Beck is also an RV guy, a trailer guy, a motorhome guy. Need I keep going on and piling on the superlatives, not the expletives, but I've thought of a few, but no, that wouldn't work. Keep going.
Hey, keep going. I mean, I'm enjoying all the publicity here. Go.
Yeah, there you go. See, basically, you have one you're currently working on, right?
That's correct. I've got a 1955 trailer called the Pleasure Craft. We'll find out how true that is when I get it done.
Pleasure Craft.
Pleasure Craft, yes. And it's we're going to be towing it behind a 1956 Chevrolet. So we're going to be looking cool eventually.
Now, I've seen the Chevrolet. I've seen the Pleasure Craft, which is on its way to becoming a pleasure craft.
Yes, it is.
It's not quite exactly a pleasure craft now. I mean, I know that's what they call it.
Yeah, it's going to be pleasurable someday, but we're hoping that the target is this August. It has to be done by August because it's going into its first show in September.
Oh.
So we've sent the entry in. We're ready to go. It's a 3-day event, and we're looking forward to it.
How's that coming along? How's the pleasure craft refurbishing going?
Well, the paint is off on one side. It's almost completely off on the other side. Now I've got to work on the roof and the vent.
That's important. Always important to have a working vent.
And then there's a few little wood things inside that have to be reinforced over age. They've come apart, and reupholster the couch or the dining. So we're rolling. I mean, we're moving along.
So why am I asking Hot Rod Bob questions about his pleasure craft? Well, it's because of our guest today. You may have seen this show on TV. It's kind of interesting. Our guests are kind of like Bob times 100.
Yeah.
Justin and Anna Scribner own Flight Camp RV Works, I guess, in Bend, Oregon. And they restore classic RVs. It's kind of an interesting field. Campers, they started documenting their builds on YouTube, and then that kind of grew. Now they've got several shows going on. One I found it on the Great American Country Network, but apparently they're all over other networks as well. So, I mean, the whole thing is kind of fascinating because it's more than just redoing an RV. It's finding it. It's having a guy out there that can strip parts from it. It sounds like a lot of the car shows we've seen from time to time, except it's kind of like if Wayne Carini had an RV show, or something like that. Or there was a show out, and I'm blanking on what it is, but it's the one that's out in Arizona, where they have like a junkyard. And they take cars from their junkyard and they try to make them work. And I'm blanking on the name of the show, but sometimes it gets to the point where they'll find these trailers in some guy's yard. It's full of dust and dirt and all that. And they drag it out. And by the time they're done, they have a really cool trailer from yesteryear.
Yeah. Now I was watching one of their shows. We actually had it on the display in the customer waiting area where my wife works, and they were negotiating to purchase one that had bullet holes throughout. Now I didn't get to see the end of it, but I'm sure they got it fixed.
I'm hoping they didn't have to pay extra for that.
No, well, the owner was trying to get extra for that. Yeah, genuine patina. Where the bullets ended up is another story, but
Yes, and depending on how whether it's an elephant gun or a pop gun, you get, I guess, better money. I have no idea if that even is a thing or not.
The holes look just like those little decals you buy.
So you actually camp then? You've actually gone. I know we have a friend that goes to the beach. Our buddy Johnny Martinez goes and he camps at the beach. He has a camper. I mean, his is a big old
he's got an almost 30-foot long trailer.
Right. But have you ever camped like that in like your pleasure craft?
No, we haven't. We scored the trailer a couple of years ago, and in the process we've moved and had some other situations, and we've been focusing on the house. Well, now we're going to be starting to focus on the trailer and get it up to snuff. I've been working on it a little bit at a time to get the paint off, and I'm trying to do it very delicately because I don't want to damage or mar the aluminum underneath, which is very thin.
That's right.
So I've been working on that. We've been looking into certain things, like we've got to replace one of the windows. We're going to polish the vent or the, I guess there's a cover over the window off of the top of it. We're going to polish those up. We've seen a number of them where they are polished. Ours were painted. So I'm stripping those off. I've gotten the new brackets to hold the windows open that are good. We have one window that needs to be replaced. Someone decided to try and break into the trailer and bent the window up. It's all available. Just like with cars, there's reproduction and new old stock available.
That's what I was going to ask. Parts, where do you get it? Is it something where you two are going to have to make a trip to some junkyard somewhere or find it? Or so you say there's actually parts available out there?
There are plenty of parts. Even the material that our dinette set is covered in is available in reproduction.
Wow.
So we can make it look exactly the way it did when it came from the manufacturer, or we can improve upon it. And we're probably going to do a little bit of both. We're going to make things look exactly like it was, but then like the upholstery, I think we'll get away from the vinyl that's on there, and we may go to something a little bit more comfortable.
Interesting.
Or a little bit more flashy, because right now it's a beige with an embossed steer head and cowboy hat and boots and things like that. We may just do it in a two-tone representative of our car, and we're going to probably repaint the trailer like our car, so that it has the same, when they're going down the road, they look like a set.
See, I'm thinking AMX colors or Mopar. Come on, Plum Crazy, or that lime green thing that they had, remember? Or the yellow.
Sublime.
Sublime. Yeah. I mean,
Sublime, no.
Can't miss that going down the roadway.
If I had a Mopar of that vintage, it would definitely match the trailer. Now, I might look for a Chrysler La Femme model so that it was pink and white, or the Dodge that was pink, white, and black. I would do that, and I really would. Our 56 Chevrolet is a dark black with white pearl. So that's the goal right now. And then we'll have a stripe down the side that I'll polish out that will be reminiscent of the side trim on the 56 Chevy.
All right. Well, let's not wait too long to get our guests in here, of course.
No.
Let's bring them in. The interesting thing is I always find it interesting when you have a married couple doing this kind of thing. Was he or she the first one to be the person that's involved in something like that? And how did the other half of the relationship, where did they come from and what got them involved in it? It's kind of interesting. Will love conquer all? These are questions we never ask on this show.
No, we know better.
No. Yeah, that's true there. So let's bring them in, of course, an opportunity to chat with the people who run Flight Camp in Oregon. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, cheap sound effects included, it's time for Justin and Anna Scribner.
Hey.
And there they are, ladies and gentlemen, live from something that doesn't appear to be a trailer.
No.
Justin and Anna Scribner from Bend, Oregon. Thank you so much for joining us, you guys.
Thanks for having us.
This is really kind of fun. You know, you guys are to RVs. We were trying to figure the association here. You guys are to RVs. Let's see. Is it what Tarek and Christina are to Flip and Flop? Flip or Flop. You've been on Extreme RVs. You have Flippin' RVs. Now I see on Anna, your blog says you have a show called Beachin' RVs, which made me think of Dave Kindig, but that's a different kind of beachin'.
Yeah. We did do a series for that. We work with BCII.
Yes.
And so they've actually hooked us up with a lot of different opportunities and programs and specials. So we've worked with them for quite a few years now.
Oh, very good. We had the top dog there on our show recently, and he told us all about his Mustangs. And we counted every cuss word that he did on the show. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Sounds like him.
I think we got up to, what was it, in the 40s when I think our clock blew out or our counter exploded or something.
And that was
like
just
that.
during the introduction.
And that was yes.
Don't worry, we're very family friendly.
Oh, good. I won't have
I
to be messing around with this in post-production. Great.
That's
Very
right,
good.
yeah.
Very
I had
good.
the opportunity to watch your show for the first time, and it was right before Randy contacted me. I was in the waiting room of the RV store where my wife works at, and it was up on the screen for the people waiting.
Oh, awesome.
And it was kind of cool. I'm looking at it and go, wow, this is neat. We got to find this out. And sure enough, next day, Randy calls me, says, hey, guess who we got? And and it was about a trailer with a lot of bullet holes. And the lady, and the lady thought it was worth umpteen $1 million.
They always do.
Yeah.
That actually is probably additional stuff to the cost of the vehicle, which means probably you had to pay extra for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Adds to the story.
Okay, so I was going through here some stuff, and according to RVLife.com, you two wacky kids are described as youthful and engaging, enthusiastic and passionate about classic RVs, and as likable as can be. We got lucky, Bob, because we're about to test that right now.
We are.
All right. We like to start things. And now I know you have the RVs to talk about, but I also understand this being the, talking about cars part of the show. You also have some classic cars as well, right, Justin?
We do. Yeah. Usually I pick a car a year, hopefully more than that if I'm allowed. But yeah, I always go back to cars. I love classic cars, always have. Grew up with classic cars. One of my first cars was, 62 Buick, and it's just, there's nothing like that smell. You can't replace that smell with anything else when you get into a classic car. And so now with the trailer stuff, it goes kind of hand in hand. We build them to pull old trailers and build them air correct and kind of matching. And so it's really nice because in the car culture, as you guys know from shows, it brings the couples together, something for each person. So it's real nice.
And I always know when he's about to look for another car because he starts referring to his current car as your car. He starts saying, you want to put this in your car? And I'm like, what car are we referring to?
Well, and that's the thing. My wife and I've got into the trailers as well, and for a similar reason. We were at a car show, and they had a separate display of cars with trailers.
Yeah.
And we were amazed about how friendly and nice the people were. We'd walk up to the trailer, we'd start peering in the window and said, oh no, go inside and look. And you think about hot rods and cars and you go, if I walk up to a car, they're not going to tell me, hey, sit down and enjoy it.
Right.
No, they won't.
But the trailer people are a whole different crowd, and we've become involved with a number of them. And once, in our case, a friend of ours told my wife of a trailer, and the next thing I know, we were on our way over to get it.
Oh, what kind of trailer did you get?
1955 Pleasure Craft.
Nice. Yeah.
And they know what it is.
Yeah. Well,
Wow.
and we're getting it ready. The first show is planned to be in August in Buellton, California.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
We're going to try and get it there. We're entered. We're set to go. And now the goal is I've got to get all the paint stripped off that's left. And we got to do some refurbishing to the interior. Luckily, it was relatively well kept inside, but that's the goal. And then we're going to tow it behind a 56 Chevrolet wagon.
Awesome.
Very nice.
So was that salmon and white or blue and white?
It was red, white, and blue.
Red, white, and blue.
The roof was blue. The sides were red and white. And I've put a couple of messages out there on one of the boards, and no one has gotten back. And I've only seen one other pleasure craft. It was pink and white.
Yeah.
So we may not do the same paint scheme that it came with, but I'm kind of leaning towards that. But we may just do it so that it looks like the side of a 56 Chevy as well.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great trailer to start out with. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I always laugh when we go to car shows and people like aren't touching the cars. You know, they don't even think about getting into them. You go to a trailer show and you have to put a sign on a refrigerator if you don't want people in it.
Yeah.
Because they get so excited about getting into everything. They want to see everything that you have.
Yeah.
I like it when, Justin, you were talking about the car there and everybody likes to smell it, because the first thing I thought of was old car mold and mildew. Yeah, that's the first thing you probably, before you fix it, of course, and it smells like really cool stuff.
Right.
Let's go back to, we always like to start things at the beginning, and we always wonder the backgrounds of some of our guests as far as vehicles, and in this case, trailers. Justin, are you out of a Ford family or a Chevy family, or?
More
Are you bilingual?
Chevy family. Yeah. You know, it's funny because my brother was the only other car guy in our family. My dad didn't really, you know, we had 7 kids, and so it was he was too busy for hobbies by any means. You know, worked a lot, and so my brother and I actually really got into cars, and all of his stuff originally was early Camaros. So that's what kind of got me started. Was, you know, I was the guy to place the blocks underneath or in front of the front tires so that he could, you know, light them up in the back. So I got to stand back and watch the smoke happen.
Very good. Very good. You know, you're in Bend, Oregon. Were you from Bend originally, or?
Well,
Either one?
Originally I'm from Florida, and then I grew up in the Valley in Oregon, so Willamette Valley. I moved to Bend when I was a teenager, and Justin and I had already met. So at some point I convinced him to come see me, and he's been in Bend ever since.
25 years
Okay.
later, I'm still here.
Last time I was in Bend, Oregon, and I have a picture of it somewhere. There was a restaurant or something near the airport, and it had the front clips of Chevrolets from like 1958 to 1960, I want to say 5 or 6, around the, you know what I'm talking about, right?
I mean, it's like completely ringing a bell, and I'm trying to.
I don't think
hoping that your story keeps.
Oh, okay. I'll keep.
Yeah,
because
so it's very familiar, but so many things have changed here.
I was going to say it's probably not there anymore. I remember talking to somebody since, and they said it's now gone, but they remembered it. And I thought it was a restaurant, but they had, like, again, front clips of a 58 and a 59 on the side, and then the front of the restaurant, it had 60, 61, 62, and I was just fascinated by staring at that, going, oh my gosh, look at that. But it's not there anymore, so we'll just move we sold
the front clips for more than they made selling food. So,
I bet you that's what happened too. Because those front clips look pretty good. It was like they took it right off the car. So, Anna, tell me a little bit about your vehicle background. Were you a Ford or a Chevy family growing up?
You know, we were kind of whatever we could afford family. My mom was big on station wagons because she had 3 kids. And so I grew up with a station wagon, and our biggest pastime activity was going camping, and not the kind of camping that we do now. She had an old canvas military tent, and she would take us out in the woods, and we would stay there for weeks at a time.
Oh, wow.
So of course, when I married Justin, he comes from a family with a history of vintage trailering. And so, you know, he suggested that we get a trailer, and I was like, that's not camping. I did not know what he was talking about.
That's not roughing it enough.
No.
Right.
Yeah, there's a difference between having to lay out there among everything and in a trailer. Yeah.
Was the Gremlin the AMC family? I think the Gremlin was in the AMC.
I believe it
family.
was. Yes,
Yeah.
AMC.
That's the family Anna comes from.
Was that your first car? Was a Gremlin? What?
No, but we did have a Dodge Colt for a while. We called
I'm
it
so
Green
sorry.
Ball.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
a Mitsubishi rebrand. Yes.
Mitsubishi rebrand. Yeah. All right. That's interesting. Okay. So first car, Justin, you said it was a 62 Buick?
62 Buick Special, yeah. Yeah, white 62 Buick Special, and blue interior, all original interior. That had the, I believe it had the aluminum block on it, on
The
that
V8,
model. Yeah, the V8.
yeah, 215 cubic inch.
Yeah, great motor until you overheat it by being stupid. But yeah,
I'm
no,
sure
it was
there's a
great
story
car.
there.
I think I actually tried to take Anna out in a couple dates in that car until she got sick of pushing, through lights, and so.
The funny thing was, he was always borrowing my car to get to work.
Yeah.
But when we went out to dinner, it would be in this Buick Special, and we would never actually make it to dinner.
Or he's packing lunch because you're not going to get to the restaurant. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, no, this is what you
Didn't I
see.
tell you this was a picnic?
Exactly. Justin's that romantic kind of guy. He just thinks it's an instant picnic.
You wanted to rough it? Here you go.
Very good. All right. So there's the story of your first trailer. How did that work out, Anna?
Well, Justin suggested that we go. We'd first been married, and we had a small dog, so we weren't hitting a lot of hotels. And he's like, I've got this great idea as a solution. And he's like, I think we should go look at an old trailer. And I was like, are you serious right now? I mean, we're talking, mildew and paneling. Are we talking about the same thing? Anyways, we went and looked at it, and it was love at first sight. Like, Justin and I have always been into, collecting different vintage items. We always had old cars. Mid-century homes, the whole thing. And so we went and looked at this trailer. I was not convinced. And when I saw it, I was just like blown away by the design, like the detail and everything that just went into things as, simple as the handles and the knobs. It's kind of like when you raise the hood on a car, and if it's an old car, even the most simple things that nobody thinks of, they look good. And so for me, I just appreciate good design no matter where it is, and I saw a lot of that, and I was kind of hooked. We camped that thing to death for years and years and enjoyed so many fond memories, and yeah, it was a great experience.
What brand was it?
It was a 1958 Shasta Air Flight.
Okay.
She
Yes,
knows.
it was a little canned ham.
She remembers. See these? That's impressive. That's impressive. I mean, and you called it a canned ham.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you called it a canned ham. Is that just because of the shape of it?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And the way that it's built, it's not an aircraft constructed trailer. It's actually wood framed, and they're built from the inside out as opposed to from the outside in.
It's fascinating, really, when you start thinking about some of the trailers that were out there back then, and some of the designs out there. On your website, there are several examples of what I would call clever names, like, for example, a 1946 Spartan Mobile Tap House. Mm-hmm. You have that on your website, and it does not have, I'd imagine, a single beer tap in the whole thing. Is that correct? I'm just
Not currently, no.
See, I'm thinking ahead here. I'm thinking, you're looking for somebody to buy that. Then you sit there and you throw a beer stein in it or something, and a beer keg, tap it around. You'll have fraternities, all sorts of people that probably shouldn't be having one throwing money at you for that.
Yeah, it's funny with these trailers. They have the resurgence of interest in these old trailers that have been sitting beside people's houses for so long, over the years. They're starting to realize they're such usable spaces, and to go buy a utility trailer and convert it or something, they've got eye appeal. And so, if you're starting up a new business or, some sort of vending, anything like that, I mean, you're going to draw attention to yourself right off the bat. And then bring people into your idea, whatever it is. So it's kind of a really neat thing that's happened, and a lot of them are getting saved from the scrapper that way. from people using them for mobile businesses and vending situations and stuff.
I will say that vintage travel trailers are a huge piece of like Americana history that has kind of been parked in the back, field and ignored for the last 30, 40 years. And now people are starting to notice them. And that's something that has been really rewarding for us, is to see people start to save them. Because when we first started going out looking for different trailers, we would talk to somebody about a Spartan and they would be like, oh man, there were 10 here and they just got recycled not that long ago. Wish we would have talked to you sooner. So that was kind of heart-wrenching. And now people aren't doing that. So if you got a trailer in the back, let us know.
Now, when you got involved with this, how much background had you had other than your Shasta?
Well, my family has always had trailers. So growing up, with my dad and his dad, they've always had trailers. They're from the back east. They used to take 2 months at a time off and do fishing trips in trailers, him and his parents, when he was home on leave, and different things. And then when my mom and him got together, then they always had trailers as well. And so we actually started out, on a cross-country trip from Oregon to New York in a little trailer with 7 people in it. And this thing was, 13 feet long. We had people stacked up on the floor down the middle of the aisle, kids laying next to each other. And so I had quite a bit of history with it. And then following the airlines, which my dad was an aircraft mechanic his entire life, we'd go back and forth from Seattle to Long Beach, for all the big McDonnell Douglas and Boeing and everything. And we'd always have that trailer toting behind us. I mean, it was just kind of a staple to have the trailer there, and we could pull over and stop whenever we want. And it was easy to feed a bunch of kids out of it. And so that's just kind of how I lived, and then 12, 13 years old, then you start getting your responsibilities. Hey, it's your responsibility to make sure the jacks are packed. And when we get there, you set it up. And, mom and dad are sick of rolling around on the wet ground and putting things up. And so, then it becomes part of you. That's what you're used to doing. And so knowing how many manufacturers and how many different styles and kinds and everything out there, I mean, that came a little bit later, but it is definitely in our blood.
How do you know which trailers to redo? Is it a matter of just people coming to you and saying, hey, I want to do this trailer, or do you do it first and then try and sell it? How does that work?
It's a sickness, really. And probably should have taken some sort of pill or something for it years ago. It's funny because we have our own passion and our own interests as far as that goes. And other people have different build ideas and things that their family needs, their own wish lists and everything. So, we do have a lot of clientele that come to us with a unit in mind that fits their needs, fits their size, fits all their wish list that they need for their family. But the root of it for Anna and I is, just having the simple passion of seeing something that has style, good lines and everything. And it's almost funner to see a dilapidated version of that and then to be able to recreate it and bring it back to life. And I would definitely say that our passion is probably late 20s, early 30s styling, very Art Deco styling. And, we love all the aluminum trolley car, train car type trailers and stuff like that. But they're a little bit bigger and a little bit more common. And so we like the rarities, kind of the odd ones.
Whatever gets you excited, something new or fresh. But to be honest, my biggest thing, if I'm designing something for myself, I just have to make sure I can get a shower in it.
Okay.
Well,
So we could get the coolest old trailer, and if we're not getting a shower in it, I'm like, that's going up for sale.
So no little canned hams. It's got to be bigger.
It's amazing what you can put a shower into.
Well, it brings up an interesting point, shower-wise.
Yeah.
When did showers start appearing in mobile home RVs?
Well,
Around the 40s, mid 40s to late 40s is when they kind of started becoming more standard. You had some companies in the 30s, mid to late 30s, that were doing some pretty neat things with hidden bathtubs underneath booth seats and things like that.
1936 Masterbuilt.
Mm-hmm.
They had the front dinette. If you lifted up the seat, there was an aluminum tub in there. So I'm not the first person to come up with this idea.
Yeah. But standardly would probably be in the 40s with Airstream and Spartan, and a couple of the Westcrafts, actually Westwoods. They had small bathrooms in them, even if it was just an add-on toilet or something like that, an add-on water closet type thing. But it was most of the time they were stationary. Everything was war effort at that time, and so it was row housing. We term it trailer row housing instead of row housing. But they used to have camps all over the U.S. That had 2,000 to 3,000 trailers lined up from the same manufacturer. And when you came home from the war, you'd get the title, and your family could be there as long as they needed to be. And it was kind of a welcome home type of thing. And so they didn't plan on carting them around, and they had bath and shower facilities and stuff. And if we have more time later, I'll tell you a funny story about J. Paul Getty and the Spartan Manor, but we can go into that later. It's fun.
Well, it's good. Now, the canned ham, though, that's something possibly more.
Bob, are you hungry? You keep talking about canned ham.
Yeah, well,
what is that all about?
It's what we call the proper, to me, trailers to have fun with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mine's a canned ham too, and that's what we looked for when the one that we got popped up. But that's more of a 50s thing. When after the war, people with families, and they decided they are traveling.
They did a lot of park models leading up to that. They weren't quite mobile home park models, but like Justin was saying, Spartan would, at their airports, they would, line up a bunch of Spartan Manors around a bathroom facility, and people would go and live in them, especially coming home from the war. There was a real need for housing at the time. And then in the 50s, it just became something that people did for pleasure more. Mm-hmm. So they went the route of the canned hams, where families were jumping in the car and taking off. They had cars that could pull trailers. Granted, they weren't going 75 miles per hour down the I-5, but
nobody did that back then.
Yeah.
Well,
but yeah, they were, taking them on trips and stuff. And so it changed. And then a lot of the trailers, the bigger trailers, went into full-time, like mobile homes. When you got towards the, 1959, then it kind of changed again.
There was one, and again, I go back to your website, something called a 61 Holiday House Geographic Model. And I mean, I'm trying to think of the style. Art Deco doesn't quite strike it, but it's so early 60s Disneyland kind of wow design. And of course, that is one that looks like it's going forward when it's really going backward. And but it's a gorgeous design, and it just tells you how artistic some of these trailers really are.
Yeah, it really is amazing. And Anna kind of touched on that point a little earlier about, when you open up the hood on a car, an old classic car, and, you look at the air cleaner and the carb and everything, just anything from that area, you're talking about your side mirrors and how they swoop and come up, or the door handles, anything like that. It wasn't utilitarian. It was, wow, we're going to show what we can create here. Let's really show everybody what we can create and have a good time doing it and enjoy it. And then when that thing, whatever it was, came out, it was like New Year's Day. It was a party, we're presenting this to the public. And the same thing with trailers, it wasn't any different. all the manufacturers back then, which in the 40s, there was, you know, upwards of 3,600 manufacturers in the US in the late 40s. They were all competing, you know, they were all trying to come out with not only something that was usable, but had style and was eye-catching and, you know, ahead of their time. And that Holiday House Geographic was not only designed by an engineer, a NASA, you know, engineer, but he was also an artist. And we've had I can't even tell you the pleasure just in the times that we've spent sitting with him and his family. It's just been, I mean, it's been an experience I will never forget in my life, to be able to spend time with him and see his eyes light up when you talk about this, you know, 50 years later, that something that he created, it's like he just drew it yesterday. But to him, it was just a concept, and to see it like in front of him, or for him to sit in it, you know, I can imagine all of the car designers, trailer designers, wherever they are, when they're making something out of clay, you know, like that concept starts, or on a drawing pad, and then to actually see it, you know, tangible in front of you, it's got to be an incredible feeling.
So you've gotten to meet and greet with some of the icons of the trailer industry.
That was Chuck Pelly. He went on to found the BMW group, and he is one of the on the board at the Pasadena art school there that does art design. And so we got to be a part of that show one time. We brought the trailer, and of course we were there with, like, you know, Jay Leno and all these like really amazing vehicles. And then you pull in a 1961 Holiday House Geographic, and you are gonna get a lot of attention, because people just haven't seen anything like that. In fact, when we were taking it down there, and this happened every time we took that trailer anywhere, you know, we'd cross over the border from Oregon to California, and they'd be like, well, we need to check out your boat. And I'm like, oh, it's a trailer, but okay, you know. And they're like, okay, where have you been? Have you been visiting any lakes? And I'm like, well, again, it's a trailer, but okay. And they go around it, and they come back, and they'd be like, it's a trailer. I know.
Where did you find that trailer originally, and how long did it take to get into the shape it is today?
Oh.
That trailer was found years ago, actually, and I would love to take credit for it. You know, I do search around for a lot of trailers, and I get whiplash quite a bit all over the place driving, but this one in particular was found by a very good friend of mine up in the Washington state area. And it's a funny story, because he wasn't even looking at the trailer. He was looking at something behind the trailer, and took some photos of it.
Leaned over a wall and taken some photos of the Spartan.
Yeah, and loves Spartans. And so he got online, of course, on social media stuff, and posted these pictures of this Spartan, and said, if anybody's looking for a Spartan, I think I know where one may be available, you know. And within 10 minutes, he got flooded by 100, you know, different people commenting, take that photo down. Where's this located? You know, don't talk to anybody but me, type of thing, you know. And so I knew right off the bat, I was like, well, I don't have a chance at this.
There's a little holiday house, the back corner of it peeking out in this photo.
Yeah.
It's just like just the tiniest bit of it. But anybody that was true trailer aficionados, they recognized it immediately, and were like, because we've been searching. We knew one was in existence. It went off to a private collection in France years ago. So everybody's kind of been looking. There were 7 made originally. So
yeah, and this one didn't look anything like what it should, because it was when they created the 7 of them with the molds and stuff, they think 2 of them were completed entirely, but most of them were like salesman type mock-ups. So they'd have them on a lot, and people could walk through them and pick different cabinetry finishes and stuff. And this one in particular didn't even have the water heater area cut out of the mold, and the interior was very, you know, as far as fiberglass goes in 61, you're talking, you know, early Corvette era fiberglass, you know, so people were still experimenting a lot with the fiberglass process, the molding process, and all that kind of stuff. And So it was very early, very, very early. And years passed anyhow. Nobody was able to make a deal with the guy. The gentleman that owned it was a huge car guy. His collection is just immense, and he races drag cars, and he didn't need to sell it, didn't mind sitting on it, didn't really,
Using it for storage.
it was full of car parts, didn't care about it. And he really wanted to trade something. He's just kind of like the guy that wants everything quirky. What do you got? What's the cool thing that you could get that I don't really care about the boat trailer thing over there, you know? And so finally we, years passed, and I finally inquired around and asked, is anybody going to move on this thing? I mean, has anybody got something that they're going to trade him? And I think it was about three years after the pictures surfaced that I finally got his phone number and contacted him. And he had met me, believe it or not, at a show that we had done somewhat close to the area with another unit. And he said, I've been waiting for you to call. And so it just was timing. That's really what it was timing. And what's great about it is I probably couldn't have done it justice before that. And it was good it happened when it did. And we were just the vessel to get it back out in the public eye. And we were just so privileged to be able to work on it.
So what did you trade for it?
My bank account.
A big fat check.
Oh, well, that's unique.
Yeah.
Right?
You know what's hilarious about that? What's so funny about that is, so when we talked, he says to me, I said, so I know you're looking for something incredible. I mean, I've got a 47 Buick convertible that I've redone, and it's gorgeous. And I've got a Lincoln Continental and and he's scratching his chin, and he says, well, why don't you just offer me some money for it? And I said, well, everybody said that you don't want cash for it. And he goes, nobody's ever offered me cash for it. So it was some silly backstory that for years, everybody was scared to talk to the gentleman about, and we were able to just purchase it. And it was a really easy deal.
Never assume.
Yeah,
Never
exactly.
assume.
That's right.
The old journalistic adage seems to work in wheeler dealer trading and stuff for RVs and cars. Just never assume that what is being said is true. That's
so
funny.
If anybody's wondering, that's where my firstborn is at, up in the Washington area.
I love that. That is pretty funny. Well, back we are, Justin and Anna Scribner of Flight Camp out in Oregon. They do a lot of really cool RVs, and Hot Rod Bob, who's just a really cool individual. Here, I'll give you the $50 later.
Okay.
And of course, I'm Randy Cardoon. Thanks for joining us on the Talking About Cars and for this edition RVs podcast. Now, you guys started doing the builds. You opened up your shop, and I assume you went to YouTube, and that's how everybody found you, and thus that's how you got on TV?
Actually, no, not so much.
Okay. Never assume.
Yeah. I wasn't sure whether I should agree with you there or not. No.
No. So what happened? How did you guys go to suddenly become on TV and have all these shows?
So we started this crazy hobby business during the recession. So we're talking, it's quite a few years ago. And, even before, the mainstream YouTube social media stuff was really, really popping like it is now.
I don't even know if there was YouTube.
Yeah, I can't remember actually, but, like everybody else, things turn, we hit the downturn and things had to go, and we had to sell some stuff. And I was doing a completely different line of business. And after 12 years of marriage at that point, which was in 2008, we decided to have a kid during the worst time that we could have ever thought of having a kid. And it was the best thing that's ever happened to us, of course. But, we had to reinvent ourselves basically and pay some bills. And so You know, from being a contractor, it was easy to travel around doing little jobs here and there, and we'd see stuff sitting in people's yards. And back then people were giving them away, you know, I mean, literally, here, get rid of it, get it out of here. And so I'd drag it home, and we never intended on ever selling anything that we got. Whenever we got a car, it was always going to be our family car. Whatever year it was, whenever we got a trailer, it was always going to be, that's how we recreate, you know, that's how we cheaply enjoy our time, you know, and then it would have to go. We'd have bills to pay, and it would have to go. And so I was working in the driveway, literally in the driveway, over and over, unit after unit. We'd have to sell it after we got done with it. And
drive a trailer home, and
yeah.
then we'd be working on it in our free time, or during the recession we had a lot more free time.
Yeah.
So you'd be working on it, and then it would have to get put up for sale, and then he'd drag another one. And every trailer he drug home was in worse condition than the one he drug home before. So I'll tell you, you can come to our shop even today and go out into the boneyard, and you will see there is not one trailer that we are afraid of at this point.
No. And to this day, Anna still says to me, are we ever going to get to keep one? And, you know, it's kind of
because we're not running a museum here.
We're not running a museum.
So we happen to get into a hobby of collecting the largest things, I guess, outside of like yachts or something that you can collect, you know, so.
Yeah, we should have started like with bikes or Russian nesting dolls or something, but instead
it's 40-foot trailers.
40-foot trailers. But yeah, we'd sell them, and you know, the eBay was real hot back then, so we'd do eBay actions and throw it up on Craigslist. And I just remember we got a silly phone call from a guy. You know, a lot of the people that do these build shows, I didn't know this till years later, but they really pursue it. They send a lot of stuff to the production companies, and you know, they put a lot of their time and money and everything into promoting that to do that. And we feel very fortunate. We never did that. We were just trying to survive, honestly. And we got called by a gentleman. His name's Greg Glass, a dear friend of ours still to this day, that worked for Brentwood Communications.
Bud,
and Bud. And he
Bud
said, he said, we've been following, you know, your stuff.
Your
do this
sales on eBay. We've been following your auctions.
Yeah, he said, we've been following all your auctions, and every time you put something up, somebody buys it before, you know, it even reaches halfway through the end or any of that. And the styling is great. And, you know, we do this extreme RV show and wanted to just bring in a different element to like your normal kind of that, you know, fiberglass and man-made material type of build that they feature.
And to be honest, at this point, we were just catching on that people were into old trailers. We were always the only ones in the RV park that had an old trailer, or the state park or whatever, you know, and it would draw a lot of attention, but it wasn't until we started selling these trailers that people actually, one time Justin was out in front of our house polishing an Airstream, and someone stopped by and was like, hey, you know, you should go to a trailer rally. And we're like, they have trailer rallies? I mean, we had gone to car shows. We actually one time built a car, and accidentally we were in McMinnville, Oregon, staying with his sister, or Sherwood. And they were like, oh, there's a car show downstairs starting up this morning. And we're like, oh, okay. Our car's parked on the road. We ended up winning an award for the best, I forget, you know, something. It was an old 64 Lincoln Continental. And we actually like won the show for, you know, first time show participant. And so it was like kind of just accidental. And this was the same thing. It was just, we just really didn't know that we had hit something that was gonna, you know, all of a sudden boom in popularity. And so, yeah, so continue. Sorry.
No, that's great. And she remembers so many things that I don't. That's why we make such a, you know, we've been as a married couple and, you know, husband and wife, we've worked together, you know, now for, well, we've been married 24 years, but we've worked together for, you know, upwards of, you know, 12, 13, 14 years of that, and side by side. And it's a great, you know, yin and yang, it's a great work relationship that we have. And
most days.
and yeah, and it's organic is the other thing too. That's where I was headed with that, is that it all has happened organically. We haven't really pushed for anything. It comes from a passion that her and I both have of preservation, something of like she said, Americana in these trailers that wasn't really remembered for a long time. Americana's, your Route 66 sign and car shows and Coca-Cola, and there's a lot of things that go with that. But until a few years ago, people didn't realize that this was a huge part of people's lives. I mean, their families grew up in a 20-foot trailer, a whole family, because the economy was so bad, or somebody was coming back from the war. I mean, there was so many different circumstances that threw America into travel trailering, and to be able to bring that to people through the show and share, a history of each unit, and kind of, it was a real cool thing to be asked to be, ambassadors to do that.
And I will say, like, the cool thing about trailers as opposed to other things, like, of course, we love old cars and old houses and stuff, but especially when we got started, there's a lot of time capsules where people literally parked the trailer, locked the door, and left, and no one stepped foot into it for 30 years or 40 years or 50 years. So we'd walk in, the newspaper would still be on the table, the clothes are still hanging in the closets, the toothbrush and the toothpaste and the dishes and everything. It was like you literally stepped back into another era. And there's something about that that's just so neat. Like, we learned so much. So not only do we collect trailers, but now we've got a 1,800-foot showroom full of old junk.
Old mildewy toothbrushes.
Yeah,
We're back to mildew and toothbrushes. Okay.
There we go. Hey, why not?
I've never had that word come up so many times during one of our shows. But that's right.
Yeah, and then when they did the Extreme RVs, the interesting thing was when we watched it, we had never seen that show. It was a series, and so I remember we were sitting there watching it, and Simon Cowell's double-decker mansion with a whole bunch of TVs and all these amazing, they've got RVs where the doors open automatically as you're walking through the trailer. And then they show us with our 1948 Westwood Coronado, and we're like, or Justin, it was a 47, sorry, 47. I know you're going to correct me. 47 Westwood Coronado. And Justin's on screen going, and this one has a porch light. And it was the most popular vehicle on the show. It got the most ratings. So people still love,
It's the difference really between driving, a 58 Edsel and driving a Ferrari. I mean, people admire a Ferrari, but if they had their druthers, they'd take that 58 Edsel every time.
Yeah.
Well, almost every time.
Yeah.
Right, Bob?
That's why a lot of these vintage trailer parks have popped up across the U.S. too, that we've had a lot of hand in helping out with all over the place. And the more we talk to people, the more of them we hear are popping up. I mean, they just keep coming. Even during the pandemic stuff, people are still finding ways to Airbnb things and stuff, because you're stepping into an experience. It's like Anna and I always kind of attribute it to like when she finds that time capsule or something. It's what people are searching for when they go to Disneyland. When you walk into Indiana Jones, it's like you're in Indiana Jones. When you walk into that 30s trailer, it's like you're in 1933 or 1934 Lakeside Cabin. And
it's the only way you can actually really genuinely recreate the entire experience. You can go out by a river by yourself, get the record player out, and actually step back in time. It's like that movie, Somewhere in Time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Take a record player by a river. I like that.
Yeah.
If you can figure out the whole electricity thing, but other than that,
I have to explain to my kids what a record is.
well, that's true.
I mean, they look at it, that's an awful big CD. I don't understand.
your dog in front of the big speaker, you know.
Yeah, cranking it, okay.
Okay, so we know about your first cars. How many old cars do you guys have? And if you don't mind, what do you got in your garage, car-wise?
Well, I had, going into the pandemic, I had a 1963 Bel Air station wagon.
Okay.
And for me, that is like the greatest car for kids. So I was very popular in the neighborhood. All the kids want to get in it. And I really think every child in the US should experience what it's like to sit in that third row and stare at the people behind you.
or make funny faces at them. Yeah.
They're all like, this is so awkward, but then, they love it.
You got two options back there, to make fun of the guy in back of you or to throw up. One or the other.
I used to pretend like I was in a carpool because that's what I thought a carpool was. I pretend like there was a pool in the back of the station wagon. And
okay.
I thought it was good.
Oh, no,
no, what's funny is that now I have got an affinity for vans, like camping vans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But Justin, you're the one with all the vintage cars.
Yeah. So
soon to be mine.
Exactly. One by one.
And then soon to be neither, because you'll be getting rid of them according to your
That's
plan. Right. Okay. I pay attention. I do pay attention. Go ahead.
Yeah. So coming from a GM Chevy family, I always do kind of lean that direction. The styling of the 40s cars to me is pretty awesome. That when a lot of chrome came in, everything on early 40s. We had a 46. We got a 46 Chevy pickup, half-ton pickup.
Mm-hmm.
That we used to tow a master build around, a 36 master build. The 47 Buick convertible, blue Buick convertible, which is an incredible car, and all original, everything original. Kept the drivetrain, everything original, the straight 8 in it, and had to have the top and everything rebuilt. Everything on that is air driven, so it's even the top. Everything's got to be working perfect, otherwise you can be stranded with that thing halfway up and down. Let's see. We talked about the 64 Lincoln. That one actually went, which was an incredible car. That was the one that we used to just let all of our friends take. They could come and grab it and pile all their friends on a Friday night when it was okay to do so. And we'd have 12 people in that car at one time, and cruise around town. It was a lot of fun. And right now, let's see the
big trailer puller.
Yeah, the trailer puller. Are you talking about that? Yeah. So the one I'm just finishing up right now that's in the collection is a 51 Suburban.
Okay.
Three-row Suburban. The last thing that I've got to do to it is just mount the trailer hitch on the back, and we're all set. But the entire it was a frame off, so it's got full TCI independent front suspension, disc brakes. We put a 400 small block in it, and Anna did all the upholstery, and it's done to the nines.
Now we're talking my language here.
Yeah, Chevy Suburban, barn doors on the back. And I did that for a reason. I know that the clamshells are, I'm sure you'll get comments on this, because I always do my research. When I get obsessed with something, I'll think about it for months before I actually execute. But
months or hours.
If the right thing comes up. But that clamshell, the thing that I try and point out to everybody, if you ever in the trailer world, if you're making it a tow vehicle, the clamshell gets in the way of the tongue of the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we have a hidden hitch, of course, to try and make it as sleek as possible. But still, I kind of mocked everything up with another friend of mine's down in California, and he had issues with that. And so I went for the barn door one, because now I can open everything up and still have my trailer hooked up.
Well, it only gets in the way one time. You drop it fast enough and it clearances.
Yeah, exactly.
You hope.
All right.
So what vehicle that you have had that you no longer have that you would like to get back? or even a trailer.
Oh man.
Oh, oh, so many.
Pick one. Pick one.
Okay.
One each.
One each.
One each.
Yeah.
I would say the trailer that I'd like to have back of all the trailers probably be my 55 Spartan Manor. It's now a rental unit at Waypoint Ventura. In fact, a lot of our trailers have gone down there.
That's about 10 minutes from my house. I'll have to go
Okay,
over and take a look.
Yeah, so
Go take pictures, Bob.
55 Spartan Manor, very mid-century, very open. It had the tall ceilings, but actually the trailer actually curves out in the in the front, and so it has that giant area that Spartan like to call the observation lounge, and it was just very, very comfortable. And I loved it because we actually outfitted it to be completely off-grid for limitless amounts of time. And
wow.
So I love that trailer. The 36 Masterbuilt was another one. It was so impractical. The window, it's a Masonite trailer. So a lot of the trailers that we do that are the older ones, the 30s trailers, they really are designed more to sit in a museum, someplace watertight. We have a 1920s home built in our showroom right now that's kind of like that. We're waiting for the right collector to want it because it's just such a one-off piece of history, and you don't want anything to happen to it. And trailers get a lot of use. So but I would like to have that one. I'd have to build a house like around it to keep it, really.
Justin, what about you? Car-wise or?
If I am concerned, I definitely would probably love to have that Holiday House Geographic back. And it's not only, I love the trailer is just mind-blowingly, like looking, just to walk up on that thing is like, what is that? But the story behind it as well, and being now forever connected with the family and Chuck himself and his daughters and their family and their kids, and just to be in that line of history is something that I would never ever, I never thought I would ever have been able to be in there with that. And then like Anna said, we're not a museum, we're not a collector, we're a business. But if I could ever have something and keep it, it would be to preserve and to have that trailer, just to preserve his story and his history on it.
Now, when you had it, when it was on the cover of Vintage Trailer magazine, was that when you had it?
Yes.
Okay.
Nice.
That is a very impressive cover shot.
Yeah, Paul did a great job. Did you take that photo?
We took it there.
Okay. Yeah. It was a great photo.
Yeah.
Everybody has a list.
Yeah.
Top 10 cars that you want someday. In your case, top 10 classic cars. I'm not going to ask you for 10, but what is maybe the top 3 cars on your I want that someday list?
Oh man. I would like a 61 Continental convertible for sure.
Okay.
I would love a 59 Cadillac, 58 or 59 actually. I would love a 58 Ranchero, or would it be an El Camino or a Ranchero in 58? I think
Ranchero.
it was,
Well, be
Ranchero,
Ranchero, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
El Camino 59.
Right.
yeah. Okay. Okay, yeah, I think it was 58 Ranchero then. Yeah. And I would love a Woody station wagon, but like, and I don't know enough about them. I know that I would like I think it's the Oldsmobile version of is it the Oldsmobile version of the station wagon? Not the Ford, whatever. There's a bigger one that's a larger model of that station wagon that I've seen at several shows that is, had been done in mahogany, and it was jaw dropping.
Oh, you're thinking of a specific one.
Yeah, there's even a Woody version of your Suburban.
Yes, there is. Yeah.
there was a conversion company that was doing that a lot
Yeah.
in the day, and we've got one here in Oxnard at the museum
Oh, wow.
on display, and it's impressive.
Yeah,
Wow,
it
yeah,
is.
I bet.
Now,
Anna,
what
do you-
trailer would you put with that '59 Cadillac, though?
I'd probably put that Geographic with it,
Mhm.
actually, 59 to 61. And that line in the front to me always looks almost like the line on the fins kind of in the same way. Although Chuck Pelly did draw that trailer originally with a car in mind.
I can't remember. I know
Yeah,
you're looking at me, but
tell me. But it had the same kind of loop like in the front like this did. And I think it was a Plymouth, believe it or not. And I'm not sure the model, but I'm almost positive it was a Plymouth that he drew that trailer with. But I think that 59 Caddy, and I would also, if it's going to be, let's just wish list, then that would be a convertible too. How about that?
Okay. Roll the dice. I say go. Okay.
Yeah. There you go.
Justin and Anna Scribner, thanks for joining us today. You guys have been great. You come up with great stories. Oh, wait a minute. The J. Paul Getty story. Squeeze that
Yes, squeeze that in.
in. Give me the J. Paul Getty story. I forgot about that.
Real quick, and Anna touched on it, so I can even make it a little quicker. But yeah, when J. Paul Getty came out with the Spartan Manor, which he finally approved after 3 years of building it, they started in production, and that trailer again was just a trailer that was supposed to be stationary with bathrooms, bathroom facilities next to it, and it was really built because it started in 46. Is the first year of that. Well, 45 was the Silver Queen, which was the one that doesn't look anything like the Manor.
the prototype.
Yeah, the prototype. But 46, 47, and 48 Manors was right when guys were coming back from the war. So everybody was coming back from overseas, and they were all going into, executive jobs and sales jobs and everything. And so there was a lot of hopping around the U.S. on airplanes at that point. And so he made a deal with a lot of the major airports to put 25 Manors at their airport. And he would put them in kind of a horseshoe shape. And then they would have bathrooms next to them. And so you could fly in, never leave the tarmac, check into a trailer, stay there, and then be out on the plane in the morning for your sales, in the next city or whatever. And what's funny, the funny part of the story is that in the very back of every single
one of these trailers.
Yeah,
One of
we
the
do.
ones we personally own. We
In
camp
in the very back of every single Spartan Manor, right next to the door, there's a little tiny round cabinet that's about 18 by 18 with a little round sink in it and a toothbrush holder and stuff. And, even in the 40s, the standard cabinet kitchen height was 36 inches, just like it is in any house today. Well, it's gone up a little bit now, but pretty standard. And this cabinet sat about 26, 28 inches, somewhere in there. And for years, nobody could figure out what is the deal with this. You're bending over so far for this or whatever. And the whole,
your teeth in it.
Yeah, brushing your teeth in it. The whole point, anyhow, is his idea was that these were professional gentlemen that were flying in and flying out quick. And in the middle of the night, they could easily get up out of bed and use it also as a urinal. And so they never had to have bathroom. They didn't have to go out for bathroom facilities. This short little tiny cabinet was a toothbrush, sink, and urinal. And
I asked for this, didn't I? Yes.
you did ask for it.
Now, these are professional people. Don't you try this at
That's
home.
Right.
The girls were
Gentlemen.
just out of luck.
Professional gentlemen. Yeah.
Okay.
All righty then. Okay. Yes.
So
There you go.
that's J. Paul Getty for you.
Yeah.
That wacky guy.
That
Yeah.
wacky dude, I tell you. Hey, thanks for joining us, you guys. You've been great. Don't forget to
Thank
remember to
you.
listen and like and share, and most important, subscribe to our audio podcasts and the video podcasts on our Two Tired Guys Productions YouTube channel. When you subscribe, you get notified that there's a new episode going up. See, you help us, we help you. Follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And where can we find your shows now?
They run reruns on GAC Network and Travel Channel, and you can also go to our Flight Camp YouTube channel as well. And we have 2 different channels, Flight Camp YouTube and Flight Camp After Dark, with some fun blooper stuff as well.
Awesome.
Okay.
Looking forward to that. Love
My
it.
wife will be watching those tonight.
He'll be checking it all out. So
Yes.
until next week and next time, I'm Randy. That's Bob. That's Justin. That's Anna. Having fun talking about cars and RVs. Until next time, see you later, everybody.